2, 1. Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of In the Library with
Tara!
And today we have with us
Joyce!
Indeed, we have a very eager... Do you want to give your full name for our audience?
Joyce Harvey.
And Joyce, why is it you've come to speak with us today?
I am going to talk about a couple books, especially Sheldon's Journey and I'm Fine, I'm with the Angels.
Did you have any connection to these books?
I wrote I'm Fine, I'm with the Angels, and I helped to recruit the author of Sheldon's Journey to come and speak to the library.
So the interesting thing about Sheldon's Journey is that it's actually the children's version of an adult book, correct?
Correct, yeah. The adult book is called River Love, and I had read River Love, and I absolutely loved it. It's just in fact, I want to read a quote on the back of River Love because to me it describes it much better than I could. And this is by the author Keith Gave, and he said, quote, "This is not a typical dog story of love or heartbreaking loss. Quite the opposite. In fact, it's about challenging beginnings and joyful endings. For anyone who struggled to heal a damaged soul, River Love is an absolute must-read. You'll laugh, you'll cry, and in the end, you'll be better off for spending these pages with Sheldon and Tricia."
Aww.
So I had read River Love, and I really, really liked it. And when she did the children's book, Sheldon's Journey, which we're going to talk more about in a minute, I think about 2 years later, I ordered it for my niece, who has yet to receive it for her birthday, and then talked to Jody Ross here at the library about getting her to speak for us.
I love the idea of having the same story and just having it for adults and having it for children as well. It's a really interesting idea that I don't think happens very often. And I think Tricia was very smart about that, and I think it's a great idea. Because then also, if you wanted to, you could read the adult version, and then you could read the children's version with your child, and then to them it's like you're reading the same story.
Yes, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think it'd be really fun for the whole family to do together.
It would be a nice family event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now they just need a movie and then they can watch it at the end.
So, for our listeners who may not be familiar with River Love or Sheldon's Journey, could you give us a brief synopsis? And is this the same Sheldon, famously of The Big Bang Theory?
No.
He doesn't like dogs.
Oh, okay. Sheldon is a dog. Thank you for asking. Sheldon is a dog, and of course I'm an animal lover, and therefore I loved that part of the story. But Sheldon is a lost Sheltie who wanders onto the property of Rivershire, which is where the author Tricia Fry, I always mispronounce her name, I apologize. That's where she lives, and he was a lost dog, and it took quite a while for Sheldon to trust her. And it's a long story of her journey, getting Sheldon to know her and her getting to know Sheldon. And then she did the children's book with Sheldon.
Now, there's a lot of Native American sort of mythology that goes along with this, would you say? Because I believe the river's name is... I can't ever pronounce it.
Nababwa?
The Boardman River?
It's Nibwaka, which is the spirit.
The children's book, yes. Yes.
Yeah. So I was actually curious about that as well. I went and looked up the author because I was curious to see if she talked about being Native American or if it had any ties to, if that was a Native American belief or spirit. And I didn't see anything. Did you find anything, Adrian?
I thought when I was looking up that is the name of at least one of the river spirits traditionally. I didn't know.
Ah.
I didn't know if that was an important point for the naming conventions or not. But
I would assume so.
I would assume so too.
I did like how, it's pretty easy to pronounce, but I also did like how she sounded it out. She had Sheldon sound it out for the kids to make sure that they knew how to properly say it.
Because, that would be a word that might be above their reading level.
Yeah.
And one of the things I loved about this book is she keeps saying over and over that the different friends that Sheldon encounters, the trees and the river and the wind, they always tell him, you'll have everything you need to succeed.
Yeah.
You'll find everything you need along the way. And isn't that a wonderful message to tell children?
Yeah.
You'll always find everything you'll need and have along the way.
And I also thought it was neat because it was kind of telling kids not to settle, because he first comes upon like a barn with 3 different animals, and they're really nice, and it's a great place, and he could have been very happy there. And it was really interesting because he was like, no, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel like where I'm supposed to be, even though you guys are wonderful. And so instead of settling, he went on this very scary, he just went out on his own and continued to like live on his own and try and survive. And
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point, to trust our feelings, even though it might be scarier to go down this road.
yeah, don't always take the easy path.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of pearls in this book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely for a younger audience. What I think is nice is that I think it could range from all of elementary school, and since it's a short chapter book, but it's still a chapter book, so it could be like a fun little like whole week long story. You could read like 1 chapter a day, and
Yes.
yeah. Because I was surprised when I opened it up, there was a lot more in there than I was expecting. I'm like, okay.
Turning our subject momentarily, you also have with you, I'm Fine, I'm with the Angels.
Mm-hmm.
Now, who wrote that one?
I did.
You did.
Yes, I did.
And for our listeners who may not be familiar with the work, would you like to briefly tell us what it's about?
Yes. It's a book to help children with grief and loss, or to help a terminally ill child accept the journey ahead. Basically, it's about Johnny, who's very, very ill, and he thinks he's so ill that he might be dying. And he, in fact, he asks his parents, am I dying? And of course, they're not ready to face that yet at all. But he has dreams, and angels come to him in dreams. He dreams about going to heaven, and he learns so many things about heaven. Can he pick out a pet? Oh, sure, you can have a pet in heaven, and different things. But he learns that dying is like the process a butterfly goes through, that when we're a cocoon, when you have an animal, an insect that's a cocoon, it can only crawl. But then at some point, it weaves called a
Cocoon?
chrysalis?
Chrysalis?
Yeah. Around it. And then when it comes out of that hibernation stage, so to speak, it's a butterfly. And it can fly. Mm-hmm. Before, it could only crawl. But then it can fly. And that is what death is like. Basically, when we cross over to the other side or go to heaven, there's lots of names for heaven. It's our soul that lives on, and that's I think the point of the book. And I was very fortunate to get the author Wayne Dyer. In fact, Dr. Dyer has since passed on, but he gave me an endorsement for I'm Fine, I'm for the Angels. And he said, it's a sensitive story conveying to young people that we are all infinite human beings having a temporary human experience.
Yeah.
So, if you don't mind my asking, what inspired you to write this book?
I lost my only daughter when she was 19, and she was serving in the Marine Corps. And I worked with a lot of parents in bereavement support groups, some who had other children. And we talked about how to work with them and tell them. And at the time, I wasn't seeing a whole lot of information, books for children to help them with this very difficult journey. And so I decided to write this book.
What I loved about this story is talking to a child about death can be really confusing, like what do I say, what don't I say. It can be really scary, especially for the child, just the whole unknown. And I just thought that I think that this is a really great book to share with a child because it's very calming and soothing, and it's uplifting too. I also like that it's non-denominational, so this is good for all children, because it's not talking about religion, it's just talking to them about death, and just the whole story is very sweet, and the child isn't scared. The child is seeing all different sides of it, and then you see what happens after. And I think that if anyone is struggling with this and trying to find a way to explain death and dying to their children, that this is a great story to go with, and it would open an easy conversation.
And one of the purposeful things that I did with the illustrator is we chose not to illustrate any of the tough moments in the book. So it's only the lovely moments that you see, so that the child reading it is not left with any painful pictures in their head. It's just beautiful pictures of heaven and picking out the dog and meeting the people on the other side and talking with the angels. So you don't see the child getting a shot. You don't see the child, doing the tough, difficult things. Those are not illustrated.
Which I think helps keeping it calming and uplifting, yeah. And if anyone wants to buy a copy, I know where you can go to get it signed. She's at the Bedford Branch Library quite often.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. And you can get the soft cover of I'm Fine, I'm with the Angels on Amazon.com. For the hardcover, you have to get it from exlibris.com. I'd be happy to sign it at the Bedford Library.
I got mine signed at Writers on the River, not this past year, the year before.
You want to tell them a little bit about that? What Writers?
Yeah, I love Writers on the River. I think it's great. So it's an annual event that happens at the Ellis Branch Library, and it's for local authors. So anyone in our area who's written a book, I think in the past 2 years it is, they will go to the Ellis Branch Library. They'll have a table where they'll have their books on there, and you can go, you can meet the authors, you can purchase their books, you can get them signed. It was really neat when I was there because there were literally books on all different topics, and I really enjoyed it. How many times have you participated?
Twice.
Mm-hmm. Well, on that note, since we have to have a book every 2 years for you to be involved, are there any new books on the horizon for you?
Not so far.
No. But you do have 4 books,
yes,
correct?
I do. My latest book is called Open to the Moment, 25 Heartwarming Travel Stories. And it's a nonfiction book. It's all true stories, sort of like a Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Yeah.
And they're stories about people that I traveled with who shared a little bit of their life with me. May have been somebody I met on a plane during a cruise. Anybody that I met during travels, that they shared a little piece of their life. And they're all uplifting and warm, and sometimes you have to get the tissue box out. But it's called Open to the Moment. And then I wrote one called How Do You Grow a New Heart? And that is it's a small little book on grief. Again, it's something you can give somebody that's struggling with grief and you don't know what to say to them. Give them this little book. It's easy.
And I saw on your website that people can, when they purchase it, they can make a request from you to write an inscription if they're giving it as a gift to someone.
That's right. They sure can. And my website is www.joyceannharvey. Ann is with an E. So it's www.joyceannharvey.com, and I'd be happy to sign those. And then last, my other book is called Swan Lessons, A Bereaved Mother's Story of Courage and Discovery, and that is a memoir about losing my daughter, Jennifer, while she was serving in the Marine Corps. It's her struggles in the Corps, my struggles with her, my loss of her, and, re-engaging with life again.
It's really brave to write about, but it was I'm assuming it was probably very therapeutic as well.
It was, but hard, very
Yeah.
hard, very hard to do. And I held on to the manuscript for years until COVID hit. And with so many deaths and so many people grieving, that's when I let it go. And that first publisher I sent it to picked it up, which is unheard of. So it was meant to be during that time.
Was that the first book that you published? Or which one was the first?
I'm Finding with the Angels was the first.
Okay.
And then came Swan Lessons, then How Do You Grow a New Heart, then Open to the Moment.
Well, I can't wait to see whatever comes in the next couple years.
Thank you, Tara.
I'll be the first in line to get it signed.
The book, How Do You Grow a New Heart? That's not medical. I just want to be clear.
No, it's not. It's about having your heart hurt. And in fact, the reason I wrote that little book was a fellow was going through a divorce, a friend of mine, and he just was heartbroken. And we were talking, and he said, well, but how do you grow a new heart? And I sat down and wrote him an email, and I turned the email into a short little book. And it basically talks about how you take care of that heart that's been bruised.
Mm-hmm.
Doing the things that are good for you and not what others think you should do, but things that are good for you. It may be wearing a piece of clothing that your loved one wore, if that's the size, if you could wear that size, or wearing a piece of their jewelry, or having a piece of their clothing made into a pillow that you can hug. Any of those kinds of things. So it's how do you take care of that bruised heart? And that's why I wrote the book, How Do You Grow a New Heart? I got that question one day.
I love the stories of people who take like shirts from the person who passed away and like they turn them into teddy bears.
Teddy bears.
I've seen those and they're so sweet.
They are, and it's a great idea.
It is.
A lot of bereaved parents do that with their children's belongings.
Yeah.
So I know this is kind of a heavy subject, but it seems like a lot of your writing is about grief and recovering from grief.
Yes, it is.
Do you have any thoughts on how society as a whole approaches? Because it's, at least in my observation, it's kind of taboo to talk about grief. Do you have any thoughts on how society handles it, or what we might do to improve that conversation?
Our society has a very difficult time with grief. And my experience has been, and I've facilitated a number of bereavement conferences, spoken with a lot of bereavement folks, and their experience has been the same as mine, that people really don't understand grief. They think you should get over it much more quickly than you can or do.
Yeah.
With the loss of a child, it's a very long recovery. It's a good 5 years before you turn that first corner. And people think you should be over it within a very short period of time, and that just is not feasible. I mean, think of it, you lost that significant part of your life, never to have them again. So our Western society has a very difficult time with grief. And some of the things that are said to bereaved people are shameful, quite frankly. And I put a little piece in Swan Lessons, and I did not want to sound preachy about what not to say to a bereaved person, so I put it in as a piece of my journal, which it was. And so it wasn't my writing, because this is really a memoir story of my journey. Mm-hmm. So I put that in as a piece of my journal so I could share how we feel when you say things like that to us, like, God doesn't give you more than you can handle.
Yep.
And so, how was it? I said, well, if I weren't as strong as I am, then maybe this wouldn't have happened. Is that what you're saying to me? That kind of thing. So, yes, we handle it. We can. What choice do we have? but it's not helpful. The best thing you can do is listen.
Mm-hmm.
Just listen. You don't need to say anything other than I'm sorry for your loss, but just listen.
Yeah.
Hold their hand, hug them, just listen.
I agree. I know a lot of people come from like a good place and like they're trying to be encouraging.
Yes, they are.
But
they are.
we have to remember that everyone is different. We all deal with things differently. We all have different beliefs. We react differently. And so something that is encouraging or helpful to you is not necessarily going to be the same
Right,
for someone else. So,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, and I have a very strong faith, so don't get me wrong about that comment. It's just that when you're just grieving so hard, no comment. There's no platitude. All the platitudes, and I could list them all off for you. None of them help. Not one of them help.
Yeah.
And so the thing is to just listen. I can't, something like, I'm so sorry for your loss. I can't imagine or know ever what you're going through. But I'm here for you.
Yeah.
And I will be here for you when everybody else leaves. That's what they need.
Well, if you don't mind, I'd like to jump back to Sheldon's journey because the neat thing about this book, why we decided to read it this week, is because we're doing an author event, which is going to take place on April 13th from 2 to 3:30. And the really neat thing about this author event is that this is only one out of 4 authors that are going to be there. So I think that's really cool. And I believe all the books are for children. So we have Sheldon's Journey by Tricia Frey. We also are going to be having The Hobbs Chronicles by Richard Taylor. That story is about a time-traveling cat changing the course of history. Every time he has a little bit of catnip, he goes through time.
I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Hobies.
Don't do this to me because I don't know. It's The Hobbs Chronicles. Don't mess with me. A book that I'm very, very excited about, Adventures on Artery Alley. That is written by Kimberly Mayer. And the wonderful thing about this book is that it was actually written entirely in the Bedford Branch Library. So she is a local here. She comes in multiple times in a week, and she wrote the entire thing like at one of our tables down from our fireplace.
That's fantastic.
So this is a story that is, it's really neat. It explains the inner workings of the body to a child. So there's a little girl and her dog has oxygen, and they're traveling through town, and each building is a different organ, and you get to meet the family that lives there. So it's a really fun way to explain the inner workings of the body, and also she keeps like a lot of the name, like the actual terms as like their names. So I'm very excited about that one personally.
I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Adventures on Artery Alley.
Stop it.
I believe that is Allie. Who's the author on that again?
Kimberly Meyer. Kim. She's really nice. And then the 4th book that will be at the event is going to be Austin's Adventures, Trip to the Aquarium. That is written by Stacy Hicks. So that's another children's book. It's Austin and his mom are at home on a rainy day. So the mom asks him if he wants to go to the aquarium, and they take off on an adventure learning numbers, colors, and sea life. And you get to see what they're going to learn about at the aquarium.
Aquarium.
Yes, the aquarium.
That's the one.
So it's really neat. We're going to have 4 different authors, 4 different books at this event. Again, it's on April 13th from 2 to 3:30. It'll be here at the Bedford Branch Library. And you just told me it's going to be right in the middle of the library in front of the fireplace.
Yes.
Which I think...
That's how it started out to be. Now that there's 4, I don't know if it's the same area, but that's how
okay.
it started out to be.
I hope so. I think that's like the perfect place for it. It's
I
so
do
warm
too.
and inviting, and
Yeah.
then people are around.
Yeah.
So I believe that people will be able to come to the event, purchase books, and get them signed.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Wonderful. And this is being put on by the Friends of the Bedford Library.
Correct.
Awesome. So thank you very much, you and the whole organization, because this is a great event. I'm personally very excited about it.
I am too. Yeah, I think it'll be great.
So just while we're on that subject, how long have you been affiliated with the Friends of the Bedford Library?
A long time, actually. I can't remember the year I started coming, but I joined way back when, but then I moved out of town for a while and then moved back. Took a job in Atlanta, Georgia, and then came back, and I worked at the Veterans Center for several years when it was just opening. Worked directly with the director to get that up and running. And then I moved on over here and have been real active here a long time. We'll just leave it at that. Right.
And if someone is joining the Friends of the Bedford Library, how could they go about doing that?
There's a couple of ways. They can stop by the bookstore, which is in the Bedford Library, pick up an application that way, get one at the front desk, or online. They can do it online as well.
What's been your favorite event that you have worked on with the Friends of the Library? I know there's been a lot of fun events, or just one of them.
There have been a lot of fun events. I have to say that my time in the books that I spend in the bookstore, I really enjoy.
Yeah.
I volunteer in the bookstore, and I've been the bookstore manager this past year. I just enjoy that because the people come in and you get to know people, and it's amazing. God works in mysterious ways because you get these conversations going, and people hear what they need to hear at that particular moment, or we help them find a book that they needed to find. It's just been a real fantastic experience for me.
Nice.
All right. On that note, we have hit the time limit. We need to switch to talking about what's going on at your local library.
Bum, bum, bum.
Do you want to read some of these?
We have a craft supply swap on Saturday, April 5th. And if you want to rehome your unused craft supplies and find some new ones to take with you to spark creativity in your life, so come on over on Saturday, April 5th from 1 to 3. Donate your unwanted craft supplies we're going to donate them on March the 17th, anywhere from March the 17th through April the 4th. And then you can actually attend the swap, which is on April 5th, and you can take away as many free crafts as you would like. Then we have Quizzical, which Adrian is involved in. Yes, he's a good MC. I love going to these Quizzicals. The Friends of the Library always lose, but we have a good time.
We did really good last time when I was on the team.
Good for you. I'm glad you took my place because I couldn't be there. Well, I shouldn't have spoke out of turn then. All right, good for you, Tara. Going to join us next time? Be on the
Your team is already full, so
Oh, good.
so I'm going to be on a team of 2.
Oh, well, okay. All right, so Quizzical, March the 4th, from 6 to 8. Teams of up to 5 people are invited to compete in a free multi-round trivia competition. Refreshments are provided, so come and share what you know.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bump, bump, bump. Register online or call the library. And if you'd like to travel vicariously through some other folks, join our Friends of the Library as they share photos and stories about their travels. On Sunday, March the 2nd at 2 p.m., the White family will be talking about the Pacific Northwest. And on Sunday, March 16th at 2 p.m., Keith Julius will be talking about the Panama Canal. Light refreshments will be served, so join us there.
I believe it's pronounced Panama.
Also coming up is our One Book, One Community of Monroe County. Join us for a showing of the Netflix documentary, My Octopus Teacher. A filmmaker forges an unusual friendship with an octopus living in a South African kelp forest, learning as the animal shares the mysteries of her world. Registration is encouraged. This will be showing at the Bedford Branch Library on Tuesday, March 11th at 6 p.m.
It's a good thing that there's an octopus teacher because there are so many fish still in school.
I know, right? They're never graduating. Also coming up at both the Bedford Branch Library and the Frenchtown Dixie Library is the Jigsaw Puzzle Tournament. This is also a part of our One Book, One Community. I believe that the puzzle is going to be octopus themed because of our book. So the one at the Bedford Branch Library is going to be Sunday, March 23rd at 1:30. And at Frenchtown Dixie, it's going to be Thursday, March 27th at 5 p.m. You do need to register ahead of time, but this is for all ages, kids, teens, adults. It's a 500-piece puzzle, and you're joining in teams, and you're trying to see who can finish the fastest. So nice little competition going on. So find your teammates and register for one of the two events.
Jigsaw Puzzle Tournament sounds like the subtitle of like the 19th movie in the Saw franchise.
Oh, that would be an interesting concept. We should pitch this to them.
They're clearly out of ideas.
I used to love that series. I haven't watched the last couple, but I need to. It's time for Show and Tell at the Bedford Branch Library. On Thursday, March 13th at 4 p.m., you can bring an interesting artifact, travel memento, a beloved toy, family heirloom, or something else you would like to share. Be prepared to talk about your item for a few minutes and answer questions from the audience. If you would like to come to this event just to listen to people share their items and ask questions, you can just show up on March 13th at 4 p.m. If you would like to speak and show your item, please register ahead of time on the website. If you had to do a show and tell, what's the one item?
I was just thinking about that. I'm not sure. What do you have in mind?
Can I bring a people?
Can I bring an invisible friend?
Well, you have to show it.
He's there, just because you can't see him.
Can I bring you?
Sure.
I got you. Perfect.
Absolutely.
Oh, but that means she's your friend. You know, she's not your friend, right?
That's true.
Bum, bum, bum. Sorry, I have to give him a little slack.
It's okay.
Escape the Aquarium. On Saturday, March 8th at the Bedford Branch Library and Saturday, March 15th at the Frenchtown Dixie Branch Library. This is going to be an escape room that is octopus themed for our One Book, One Community event. This is for all ages. One game runs each hour on the hour, and you must register for a time slot. We do a lot of escape rooms at our library, and those always fill up super fast. So if you're interested, sign up quickly. Again, it'll be Escape the Aquarium.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, bum.
And I've got a bunch of movie things here. If you're interested in Lyle Crocodile, that'll be showing March 22nd at 1 p.m. over at the Dundee Branch Library.
Woo.
If you're interested in Moana 2, that'll be at Blue Bush Branch Library on March 14th at 6 p.m. And then at the Robert A. Vivian Branch Library, that's kind of a mouthful of a library, on March 10th, 2025, there is an kid... Sorry about that. There is a kid-friendly movie night. I did go to the calendar, and it does not say what they're showing, so...
It's a surprise.
Yes.
Surprise! Hopefully, it's Lyle Crocodile also. And then you can see it twice.
Lyle, Crocodile?
Yeah.
I had never seen
Do
Lyle.
you-
I don't know if I'm ready for Lyle.
Do you know the difference between an alligator and a crocodile?
Part of it is their, I'm going to say mouth. I don't know the best way to term. So, like, a crocodile has a wide, shorter mouth, and an alligator has a long, narrow one. And one of them can, like, stay underwater for a longer periods of time.
No, one will see you later and one will see you after a while.
I knew it was going to be something like that.
And before I forget, we will also be showing the film Philadelphia here at the Bedford Branch Library.
Cream cheese?
No, we talked about this.
Yeah.
This is Philadelphia as part of the Movies from Around the World series. That'll be March 12th from 1 to 4 p.m. here at the Bedford Branch Library. So come and check that out as well.
And you can bring your own bagel and cream cheese.
There you go.
If it's on a bagel, it's schmear. We talked about that as well.
I don't want to say schmear. I like, you right.
Well, we would like to thank everyone for joining us today. And please be sure to like and subscribe. Hit that ring bell for notifications if you happen to be on the YouTubes. And thank you for listening to In the Library with
Tara!
And Joyce.
and possibly Adrian.
Possibly.